Check the email. It's like junk.
Okay.
So,
No, I.
shouldn't matter. July 10th.
No, I see
Like that, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's pineapple, there's chocolate banana.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, it's really cool.
Who would join? Oh, there we go.
Turn it on. Get us better.
Gonna meet the TV though.
I know something. You shared a presentation. I turned this building camera on. This thing is just fucking disaster.
Yeah, but you need to share.
Something like that. Wait, what are you doing?
You need to share your screen, right?
No, you're doing the presentation.
Okay, and then that's gonna be broadcasted.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Fuck no.
That's fine. That's fine.
You can, right? Don't you have the rules?
Yeah, I already shared it. I guess I changed my unplugged.
There we go. Well, nobody else is joining.
I just grab the link and put it in the chat.
Yeah.
I think we're close.
I think we're good.
Yeah?
But I think everybody is. No, none of the remotes are doing it.
You're recording? Something like that?
The screen recording, is that on?
Just hit record.
Yeah, just record. Yeah.
Good. Okay. Awesome. So, awesome to see everyone's here. This is kind of going to be an introduction to React for the entire team. As I'm sure everyone's kind of seen, there's a large amount of front-end developers specifically that are really excited about React and constantly talking about it. So there's a large amount of mystery with this, and I kind of wanted to introduction and get a feel for what React really is. I will start by stating I am nowhere near an expert in this. I'm just someone who's really passionate about it and I'm willing to learn. So, if there's one thing that will come out of this presentation, I would hope that it would be an ongoing conversation or a dialogue of, how we can make the web a better place. And that's one big thing for React. It will be tailored more towards the business side of things. So I don't really want to get too technical. One of my big goals here is to look at things like, if we're trying to sell to a client, why would they choose React? What's the decision to go with React, and what are the tangible benefits for that? So the one thing I'll start off with is the initial problem that we've seen with most websites, and this is been going on for a long time. A traditional website. This could be the websites we're seeing with jQuery, CSS, the very a little older technologies that are still reliable that we're building sites on right now. The one big problem that we really see with these sites, though, is that they're rather bloated. A lot of developers can kind of speak to this, where if you're building a jQuery application, there's a lot of instances where we're doing more coding than we actually have to, and it's kind of backwards. It's right. And this is kind of in tangent with, there's not really an efficient way for us to combine various technologies, and that's one thing we'll touch on later. Is React really works towards combining our various technologies, whether it be styling, JavaScript, or HTML. On that is when we do get these really big libraries of code that have to do a lot because of the limited resources within the technology. Maintenance is something that's very difficult for teams to work on. It's very difficult to follow. It's not always semantic. One thing that we see with React is it's very, very quick and very easy for us to touch on later times. So the big question is what is React? What is React doing? All this type of stuff. So off the top, without getting too technical, the big thing with React is that we're unifying technologies. This means that if we're writing JavaScript and HTML, those are all in one file, and that really has a big benefit because we're able to actually control things from one location, and that's something that's very important. It's really beneficial when we're trying to bind things together, find bugs and stuff like that. But also, it's a really much more cleaner development environment. In terms of that, it's componentization is the big thing. So the one thing that they want to do in React, or what we see in React, is reusable components. The concept of if something does, like an element does something, say a button to close something, we want to bulk that out into one component, keep all the functionality there, so whenever we use that component, it's going to do that code instead of rewriting our code multiple times. Smaller chunks of code is always going to equal easier maintenance because we can look tangibly what's causing the problem across the entire site. One really big thing, if we're looking at on the business side, if we're talking to a client and we want to expand off of there's a really good ability here to quickly prototype our sites. You'll see this on most Accurate projects where we have a library of code that's reusable and we can plug it in wherever we want, and it's going to function the way we expect it if we've built it properly. So that's one really big thing. But if we want to branch off of that, there's a really good ability to start future projects. We already have the foundation there. So if we're looking at working with a client and kind of getting them locked down, when we're looking at, hey, this site's in React, we can build off of this really quickly. So it creates more of a dependency on our team, which is actually a really, really big benefit for us. I did want to show an example of a reusable component just to kind of get a feel for it. And this is kind of the base of what we would see with React. So React always needs an entry point, so HTML. So we always need to rely on HTML in some regard. But what I've done here is I've pretty much just made a standard button in React. So the button, pretty much, you'll see 3 variations of it down here. It has a class, so just something that we can use to differentiate it between various instances of it. And we also add our content, so whatever we want to say. This is pretty bare bones in terms of React, but you'll start to see the benefit when we're adding it to the page. When I say something's going to have the exact same functionality and it's going to be yellow this time, it's going to be red this time. If we want to attach an event to it, say when you click on that button and you're going to alert the user that they've submitted a form, it can all be housed within this component and it can be used across the entire site. If we want to change things up, we can easily do that. The content in here is going to be different, and then it's going to change when we run it. So now it's very different, and this variant is going to let us determine the color through our CSS, and that's all determined right here. So if we're attaching a lot of functionality to this, it's the difference between us just calling this once, and it's going to carry everything over. And that's going to be a really big tangible benefit when we're quickly prototyping. So that's one example I did want to show. Also, the one big thing that goes on with React is that they call themselves they're the fastest car in the race. They're one of the most lightweight tools that we have on the web right now. They're actually 1/5 the file size of some of our other top competitors for React. So like Angular, Knockout is another big one. So, but the cool thing with React is it's able to handle a change to the page really well. So the age-old problem is, and I think everyone has always had this issue, you have a notification. We use Slack, for example. You have a notification on your phone. you read that notification, and then you see a notification still there, and you're like, I've already read this message. This is a common issue, and it drives me crazy. So what it does actually is it takes a copy of the page, and then it has the difference, and it will actually look at tangibly what is the difference between these two elements, and it will handle that difference. So it will actually apply only the difference. A lot of older technologies will just say, okay, something's new, let's just change the page, re-render it entirely. So when it's calling diff, when it's calling the difference between the two elements, it's very fast, and it's going to be able to handle a lot of changes to the page almost instantaneously. But the real question is, it's a great technology, it sounds really good, but who is really using it out there? I think only, technologies stand by their actual users. So React is built by Facebook, so Facebook is one of the biggest ones that are using it, but we have some other top ones that are using it right now. So Netflix is a really big provider of React. They stand by it pretty heavily. Imager, Please Report, Airbnb, Walmart USA. So these are all some top organizations that are using React right now, and they're using it really well. And for example, if we look at Airbnb, on the right here, by the way, it doesn't look too pretty just because of its production code. This is Airbnb's website here that they want to search for a various number of guests or something like that. React will actually let us, I know it's really small for everyone at the back, let them, they have various parameters, so they can set like how many guests that they want to have there, or it will actually keep a track. So like at the bottom here, if I'm updating, how many people, it's going to update simultaneously. So the page is already aware of the changes that we're doing here. So this is really powerful for applications when they're trying to pass information around the page. Something like jQuery is going to require a lot more legs to get to this point. Another funny one, which I was kind of surprised to see, is Walmart's actually using React. I wanted to show one really quick example. So I noticed on their homepage, again, it's really small, but they have the opportunity to show their header or footer based on their page. So I can actually edit this live, and I can say, hey, I want to show the header. It's not going to look as good as they intended, but this is something really clean that React is using. That's a really easy people when they're developing. So I encourage people to kind of look more into specific sites that are using React, and I can sit with you guys and show some examples. But right there, those are some really good examples of top companies that are benefiting from this type of technology. And the really cool thing actually is we're using it at Climax. So Climax just, we're nearing the end of our Acura redesign. So, and I heard it went really well this past week. So that's great news. But the Acura redesign is working in React, and I'm sure their entire team can speak to the benefits that they're seeing there. I've heard one phrase uttered is fast. So that's one thing that people are really seeing is how this information is being handled. I do want to drop some facts about React too. So as I mentioned earlier, it is developed by Facebook, as well Instagram, who works with Facebook, and then there's another small community of developers. It is going on about 4 years since its release, so it's relatively new, but it has a lot of legs right now. It is also one of Facebook's most popular ongoing projects. It is their most popular project on GitHub right now. It's also one of the top 5 projects in GitHub altogether in terms of stars, so how many people are following this repo. It is ahead of Angular by about 2 spots in the entire rankings, just saying, Ronnie. So one thing I do want to drop with some takeaways. If we're going to our clients and we're trying to say like, why should we be using this technology? Why should we be pitching this technology to our clients? The really big thing is that our developers are going to have a really flexible environment. As you can see, there's a lot of abilities to change the page really rapidly, and that's going to be really valuable down the line when we're trying to, if we're trying to build a select element, trying to select where you want to stay or a province. If there's some weird piece of functionality, that's entirely reusable across the entire application. It's a lot more stable in that sense. But I think the one big thing that clients are going to like, and I think is really valuable, is the ability to quickly prototype. If we can build sites really fast, at least a prototype, and get code out the door in front of a client faster, I think that's immensely valuable to how we can feature ourselves as a brand. And then on top of that, if we have a client that builds a site in React and we want to do a follow-up, we already have the infrastructure. We can already build off of, their header is red with, white text, and it does this weird JavaScript function when it's loaded. we can do that because we've already built off of that. So down the line, we can really maintain these or develop these really strong relationships with our clients using a technology that is really versatile. So that's one big thing. And I think everyone's going to agree with the statement that we don't want to have a slow website. Fast websites are very beneficial to the user, and it creates a great user experience, and it's something that you notice right away. So that's kind of all I have for now. Hopefully we can kind of take some of the points back and we can talk to clients or have that conversation of how we can make the web a little bit faster, a little bit easier to use. But I really feel like this is a technology that right now to help our clients have a better experience, and it can really set us ahead from our competition. I do have notes online, so if someone is looking at checking out these notes, I can send you the URL. I don't know if they'll be shared, but also I have some more detailed notes if someone's looking at reading up some more. But thank you very much, everyone. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
So Alex will send an email after with the link to this, and also to the video recording.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. It reminds me a bit of ActionScript 3.
Sorry?
ActionScript 3.
Oh, yeah?
Flash.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
Very simple.
Well, the components really easy. Like it's
Yeah, watch your components. So you don't come out building HTML.
yeah.
Click and play.
Yeah, it's good someone wasn't that angry, right?
Yeah, I broke the thing.
Oh boy.
I'm over it.
So